Fellow Mountaineers, you made it to another episode of the Trust the Beard podcast. Today is just going to be a from the couch moment, no real stats, just me talking through some stuff. The first thing I want to jump into is the expectations that some fans have for the WVU football season, for 2025. And I've kind of bantered back and forth with some fans on social media, and there's a lot of pushback about what success is going to mean for this 2025 team under Rich Rodriguez. His return back to WVU after 17 years. And I know there's a lot of nostalgia and a lot of hype that surrounds his return, but we have to look at facts and reality, right? Can WVU have a successful season? Absolutely. But that also depends on what you consider success. What I think it is and what you think it is may be two different things. And that's okay, right? We have different expectations, right? We have different opinions. But this attitude of like, it needs to be this bar, or, this was a terrible hire, or this is a setback, or this is unacceptable. I just don't agree with that. And there's a lot of reasons why. And one of the first reasons that always comes up why we should be able to go 9, 10, 11 wins this season. Well, Indiana did it last year. Yeah, that's true. Indiana did do it last year. But Indiana has a bigger NIL fund. And Indiana had a very cake schedule. And Indiana didn't have as much turnover as WVU. Now, I could dive into some numbers about that, but on the surface, last year, Indiana's NIL budget was like $13.6 million. West Virginia's was $5 million. And I understand the rev share comes in, and that, what's the saying, that the tide raises all ships, right? High tide raises all boats, right? Our spending floor was raised because of rev share. That's great. But our ceiling is still a lot lower than a lot of these bigger schools. And Indiana is in the mix among those bigger schools with how much they can spend. And then you go to their schedule. All right, I looked it up. 7 of their conference games last season, those teams were ranked in the bottom 8 of the conference. And that's like, what, an 18-team league now? The only 2 top 25 teams they played, I forget the first one. I'm sorry, it escapes me. They played Ohio State in conference, and they played Notre Dame, right, in the playoff. And they got beat overall like 60-some to 30-some. It was like the total combined score for both games. So when they faced real competition, they got blown out. I don't know that WVU will have that easy of a schedule. It's possible, right? All the teams we have that are hyped up, they could be bad. We don't know. That stuff changes all the time. And so my point being is, we are not Indiana. Okay, WVU is its own unique situation. And that doesn't mean we can't win 9, 10, 11 games. The odds are long that we will do that. And so when people set up WVU to, well, Indiana did it, and we're a bigger brand, so we should do it too. Well, should and can are two different things. And again, I'm not saying we can't do it, but you're putting these expectations of it has to be this or it's a failure. The expectations you put on this team, it's a very slim chance that actually happens. Doesn't mean it can't happen. Doesn't mean it's impossible. But the odds and the history will tell you that a first-year coach with that kind of turnover and a pretty difficult schedule typically doesn't churn out a 9, 10, 11 win season the first time out. And if we don't, that's okay, right? This is a very big transition year. Now if we finish like 3 wins, 4 wins, 5 wins, That's extremely disappointing, I believe. And this is my own personal opinion. I think somewhere between 6 and 8 wins is attainable and realistic. Now, 3-4 wins may be realistic. We just don't know. But again, this idea that it has to be this number or it's a failure is just, what are you doing? I mean, you're setting yourself up for failure to be pissed off at everything, And again, if that's how you feel, that's fine. I don't want to be the guy like you. You're not allowed to have these expectations, right? I'm the fan police. But just realize reaching 9, 10, 11 wins, there's a very small chance that happens. Okay, I mean, Vegas only gives us 5.5. And yes, Vegas can be wrong. We've seen it before. But I think sometimes the nostalgia creeps in with this. And people are like, but if we play Mountaineer football, we'll win 10 games. Well, Mountaineer football is not, it's not a playbook. The coach doesn't come in and like, today we're going to play Mountaineer football. And if everyone else just played Mountaineer football, they would win too. I get so tired of that sometimes. Like, I get it. You want to play hard, blue-collar, tough defense. So does everybody else. And guess what? In their groups, it's probably, we're going to play Wildcat football. We're going to play Roll Tide football. We're going to play Bulldog football. We're going to play Buckeye football, whatever the case may be. Do we have a better coach than we did before? 100%. Am I excited about this hire? 100%. We made the right move. Because financially, we have had such an influx of money because of this hire. It was the right move. That's what makes college football run today, is money. Plain and simple. Do I expect great things this year? No, not necessarily. But that doesn't mean I'm just settling for mediocre, right? The first year, I don't expect a whole lot. I expect a bowl game. I want to beat Pitt, and I want to win a bowl game. Right, my prediction was 7-5. That's not bad for a first-year transition of almost 80 new players. But you're setting the foundation. You're setting the tone for what's going to come. Now, the following year, right, next year, and the year after, I'm going to have a higher bar. Probably no matter what. Even if we go 3 and whatever this year, I still expect more. Because most likely you're going to have Nico back. You're going to have Jaheim back. You're going to have some of these guys you brought in. And I understand with the transfer portal, there's always going to be turnover. I get that. But probably not at the rate that you saw this year. I seriously doubt the next year or two there's going to be 80-some players in and out. So you're going to have a core group that sticks through the entire process, right? From this year to next year to the following year. And that core group is going to be your foundation for what you build on in the future. Transfer portal has changed. There's a lot of interchangeable parts. But still, in football, you have to have that core group of guys that stick with it and are your foundation for success. And then when their time comes to leave, they've instilled what it takes to win to the younger generation that becomes your new core. That will not change with football. You will not see a team that changes out 70, 80 players every year always be successful. It's not going to happen. I seriously doubt it. And if it does, then I completely misjudged what it means to have a successful football team. You will have moving parts here and there. You'll have pieces in and out all the time. That's just the world we live in. But you will not see a successful team. And by successful, I'm talking like 9, 10 wins, fighting for your conference title. If you constantly have 70, 80 players in and out every single year, we'll even say 60, that's not a team that's going to compete for your conference title every year. You may have one good year where you brought in a lot of good talent and they all happen to work together, but that's not sustainable. And I don't expect that kind of turnover next year. Right? We're still building a core group of there's still a core group of players here that hopefully they stick around, right? And they transition to the next year. Because I know we do have a lot of seniors this year, especially on the offensive line. So we'll have to retool that again. But I'm not automatically making an excuse for next year. I'm just telling you what's probably going to happen. And so this idea that, well, we brought in a new guy to change it, and then if we don't get, X amount of wins, we're just settling for mediocrity. And I get so tired of that excuse. Well, fans just settle for mediocrity. That's why we suck. Well, no. The fans don't get to decide anything. We pay the money, we show up, and we root on the team. I mean, if all fans thought we would win a national title, does that mean we win a national title? No. So it doesn't make sense to think that we don't do well or we're mediocre because fans settle for mediocrity. WVU has a reputation of being, I'm going to use the phrase, a hard-edged football team. Rich Rod, I'll Venmo you the money for using that. And that's what we expect. And we didn't really have that the last 6 years. That was the anomaly, right? I think people want to think the Neil Brown era was what we settled for. And it wasn't. Eventually, everyone could see that it just wasn't working. Even me, one who held out all the way till the very end, or at least Pitt game last season. You could see it wasn't the same. Should I caught on earlier? Yeah, but I thought eventually he would turn it around, and he didn't. And that's, I was wrong with that. With Rich Rod's track record, we know he's going to turn it around, right? He's had success everywhere. And I will even say he had success at Michigan. I know it was only 3 years, and he didn't have the greatest record, but he had a lot of going against him. And I believe if he was given more time, he eventually would have been more successful. But I digress. You could even leave that off his resume or mark that as an unsuccessful stop. Okay, that's one in how many stops has he had, either as a coordinator or a head coach, right? He's won conference titles, been coach of the year everywhere he's gone, except for Michigan.
We've had a lot of fun this episode. But you know what's not fun? Not subscribing to the Trust the Beard podcast. Don't pull a Darren DeVries and leave me hanging. Do the right thing. Hit that subscribe button. Like this episode. And share it with every couch-burning buddy in Mountaineer Nation. And make sure to follow me on Facebook, X, and Instagram at Earbeard.
But anyway, I digress. So this idea that it has to be this number or it's a failure, I'm just not on board with that. And I want people to realize that if you are on board with that, again, it's a very slim chance that that's going to happen. Doesn't mean it can't. Doesn't mean it won't. But the odds are it's slim to none that will happen. Just understand that you're probably looking at 8 wins at most, maybe even 4 or 5 at least. It just depends on how the season goes. If we gel, what the schedule looks like, who knows? And if we go 10 wins, 9 wins, and I'm wrong, boy, I will never be happier about being wrong. I've said it before. I'm not afraid to be wrong. I just tell you what I think and how I feel. So that's all I'm going to talk about. That's all I want to talk is reality versus expectations. I think expectations need to be tempered a little bit. Because what I don't want to see, and it's going to happen anyway, but what I don't want to see is that a team or that a fans put lofty expectations, and then when we don't win or we don't meet that expectation, it's a failure. It's like asking my 6-year-old son to do calculus. Well, he should be doing calculus. And then when he doesn't do it, it's like, well, he's a failure. He's 6. He's He's just now getting the basics of math in general, you know, plus minus those kind of things. I know that's an extreme example, but the principle is the same. You're asking a team with so much turnover in the first year where a complete culture change had to be instilled, you're asking them to automatically win, 9, 10, 11 games because this one school did it last year. Well, we're not Indiana, and we're not Arizona State. We are WVU. We have our own unique circumstance, and that will determine our outcome. Not because some other team did it. Okay, how many other teams didn't do it that are in similar situations? Had a high turnover, the first coach, the first year of a new coach, all that stuff, had to change the culture. How many teams didn't win that much, right? We always want to bring up Indiana and Arizona State. Those are anomalies. That doesn't happen often. Okay. I think I'm just repeating myself now, so I'm going to go ahead and stop. But that's all I wanted to say. Just let's take a breath and just enjoy what this season's going to be, right? The nostalgia is going to be flowing, much like the Morgantown waters. I'm looking forward to this season. I got 3 games on the schedule already. I'm going to kicking off with Bobby Moe this Saturday. I'm going to the OU game in Athens, and then the Utah game. Those are marked for sure. I will have some others on the schedule, I'm sure. I have a buddy that bought season tickets, so I don't want to say I'm expecting to go to more, but I won't be surprised if he invites me. I'll just put it that way. So before I close out, I will just run down what my expectations for the season are. Just kind of my gut reaction, right? I didn't go into too deep about rosters or anything like that. I just wrote down the names of our opponents, and I went through, and it was just my gut reaction to what I think is going to happen. If you listen to our Mountaineer Roundtable, I kind of broke that down there, but I'll do it again today. And so I got wins against Robert Morris, then OU on the road, and then Pitt at home. And one of those reasons is because I will never pick Pitt to win. Ever, 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 ever. And I said it before on the roundtable. Even if they had NFL Hall of Famers, we'll say recent Hall of Famers, or, current NFL roster, and WVU had to, cobble together University and Morgantown High players. Clearly, Pitt would be favored, but I would still never pick them, just out of principle. That's what a rivalry is all about. So then I have losses at Kansas, a loss against Utah at home, wins at BYU and Central Florida, loss against TCU, wins at Houston and Colorado at home, and then losses to Arizona State and Texas Tech. Again, this is just my gut reaction to where I think these teams are. And honestly, there's 4 of these that are complete coin tosses, right? I have a Pitt as a coin toss. I have Utah at home as a coin toss, TCU at home, and Texas Tech at home as coin tosses. You just don't know. And probably, if I'm being honest with him, everything but Robert Morris is probably a coin toss, honestly. You just don't know what these teams are going to do, right? And we've seen it that Utah was picked to win. They finished last. Arizona State was picked to finish last. They win. You just never know. And this is such a tight league, and the margin of victory for each game, I think, is like the tightest of any Power 4 conference. So we'll just have to see. But we know with Rodriguez, his teams do well late in the season, right? I don't have the number in front of me, but I believe his record he has quite the winning record in October and November, overall in his head coaching career. So I have us going 7-5, 4-2 on the road, actually, 3-3 at home. But honestly, and you could convince me to go either way on these, except for maybe Robert Morris. if we don't win that one, I think we're in trouble. But with OU, Pitt, Kansas, all the rest of them, you could argue either way. You could probably convince me either way. But again, that was just a gut reaction. So that gives us a 7-5 record for the season, and I think that's a success. If we beat Pitt, go 7-5, and go to a bowl, and could reach an eighth win in the bowl, that would be tremendous in my book, right? That would be, obviously, according to Vegas, that would be exceeding expectations. And so that's a lot to build off of the next year. And I guess it really depends on how we win those games too, right? I mean, if we start off, 1-3, and then finish, what would that be? Math in my head. 6-2 the rest of the season to go 7-5. That's pretty strong. But you never know how it's going to go. And so that's where I would just want to caution people with, or what they consider success with 8, 9, 10, 11 wins. So that'll wrap it up for this one. I appreciate you guys joining in. I don't know if I solved anything. I just had to vent a little bit, I guess. I just saw some chatter on social media. So I put my fan police hat on, although I hate doing that. But one thing I want to mention before I go, I do have a pinned tweet prediction challenge for WVU fans out there. So on my X account, I have pinned to my profile, offering up all fans to give me their predictions for the season. So it can be a win-loss record, it can be awards, it can be statistics, whatever you want it to be. Just reply to it, and the deadline is going to be 1:59 p.m. on Saturday, August 30th. So that is 1 minute before kickoff. Get your prediction in, and it will stay posted there all season. And then come December, we will see who was right. And I'll add this in there. The ones who are spot on, I may have something in store, a prize of some sort. So stick with me. I'll try to figure out what that is, kind of give an incentive. But you have to be right on your specific prediction, right? So if you predict that Jaheim White will rush for 1,500 yards, he has to rush for 1,500 yards or more, for you to be eligible for this prize. And same thing with win-loss record. So if you think that's going to be easy to predict, things like that, then go ahead and put it in there. And so I invite you guys to do that. Again, that's my pin tweet prediction challenge. It's on my profile at Earbeard. That's EERBEARD on X. So that'll do it for me today, guys. I appreciate you listening in. It's going to be a beautiful Saturday in Morgantown. I'm looking forward to it. Sunny and cool. Perfect weather for football. And just be safe if you're heading to the game. Drink plenty of water along with your Morgantown waters, and just have a good time. So that'll wrap it up here today. You guys have a good one. Goodbye. God bless. Go Ears.